was a big win for Trump-endorsed candidates in this week's Republican primary elections. It showcases President Trump's political power within his own party and sets the stage for what's expected to be a highly competitive midterm.
This is on top of many GOP state leaders, including in North Carolina and South Carolina, taking up redistricting efforts to increase the number of Republicans in the House.
All right, joining us now, political science professor Dr. Susan Roberts, friend of the show. Dr. Roberts, thank you for joining us. I want to start here with Trump's influence on these primaries. We saw with Massey. He's out right now. Same thing with Cassidy. So Trump backing opponents to people who don't like his policies. What do you think of the president's influence on these primaries?
Well, I think first to realize primary used to be an event, and now primary is a verb, to primary. And he has primaried these individuals. And I think that it has an impact on who's going to run without Trump on the ticket. I think that the Trump endorsement, and you know yourself, he has said this is a revenge tour. I think that's important to say, to look at what's going to happen in the other midterms in terms of voting with the Trump endorsement, and to what extent is this a test of more Trump loyalty than party loyalty.
Certainly interesting. And we mentioned redistricting, Dr. Roberts. What should we expect in terms of maybe a lot of states getting that redistricting through and being successful with that before midterms? And what impact would that have on elections?
Well, to say something a little controversial, I think the way redistricting has the string of redistricting efforts in the states, you could say it's more like gerrymandering, which is redistricting with a partisan intent. It would be gerrymandering if the Democrats, and you look at California, were in control. And one other thing to remember, you cannot redistrict the Senate. And so those Senate seats are critical. I think most people, prognosticators, felt like, that the Senate was safer for the Republicans, and it was less likely that the Democrats would take over the Senate. And that is, that's a little shaky.
Dr. Roberts, looking at the redistricting, looking at the Trump influence on the primaries there, what do you think the Republican strategy is heading into the midterms? We know that his approval rating is going down, although a lot of his party still believe in the efforts in Iran and the war there. Do you think the Republican Party is saying by any means necessary, let's just try to grab as many seats to try to shore up any concerns that we may have losing voters? Or what's the strategy heading into the midterm?
Well, I think the strategy headed into the midterm depends a lot on how the Democrats respond. And to this point, the Democrats have not had a cohesive response against Trump in terms of, and the MAGA agenda. So I think that's an important consideration. I think also, too, the Republicans are not going to see this as, one commentator says, oh, this represents the fact that many Republicans are now free agents. I don't believe that at all. The Cook Political Report said this is, and I think this was telling, and why I'm quoting this is that the GOP primaries are a proxy for what's going on inside the Republican Party. The Republicans just have to say, how do we make this more of an issue about bread and butter issues, affordability, bread, butter, gas, tomatoes, you name it, and less about the promises of Epstein and less about involvement in the war. And I think that issue-driven agenda is one that the Democrats would need to exploit if they expect to do well in the general election, or in the midterm elections. And this has an influence of about 36 seats that are considered competitive in the midterm.
And really quickly here, Dr. Roberts, what do you think all of this says about the president's influence in the future, right? He can't run for another term. We know that. But do you think this is setting up his influence for years and years to come?
Sure. I don't think that you can take away the MAGA agenda anytime soon. I don't know that an endorsement or activity by a presidential candidate for the Republicans can really be a polar opposite or that different from what Trump has identified as the agenda. But this, you have to wait and see. There's a lot of moving parts in terms of, Supreme Court decisions, new issues, and Cuba, all sorts of things that could have maybe a minimal, but that's all it takes sometimes in a midterm election.
Well, Dr. Roberts, I think what you said right there is exactly the reason why we're sure to have you on between now and the midterms, talking about everything coming out from the Supreme Court, redistricting, and of course, what we could see in terms of a shift of balance of power in Congress.
Yeah.
Dr. Roberts, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.